Okay, 1704, good luck. So we've not played before, no head-to-head score. Opponent, 1600 games just about, so double what I've done. What do we want to do? Let's go the Slav setup for this game. Not something I played too often. I think we just develop it. We're just going to try and castle, stick to principles. We could go the semi-Slav route. You just got to remember, don't play bishop up here, allowing queen up, and it's practically a forced win with correct play. How do I want to do this? Yeah, let's just go this way, just develop and castle. Really slow and steady does it, but yeah, bishop up is it's essentially a blunder. Now I can block here, or I can go up after the knight. I'm going to reserve that, and I'm going to play knight over again. You've got to watch out for these sort of ideas. So he could try and fly down the board, so we might have to trade, or bishop up, for instance, take and then bishop up. Yeah, knight comes in, so the idea is this, and we're pinned here. So I'm going to block now, which gives us the option to take if we wish. And then we're still going to try and castle, stick to principles. White has got to try and do the same thing. I guess you just got simple development moves. But we could break the pawn structure up if white allows us to take, and does, sticks to d3. So here, what's the idea? Knight back, I guess you just push, although the bishop would hang. So take here, knight back, take, f4. At least it makes it an interesting game, doesn't it? I'm going to do that just to make it an interesting game. Let's just drop back. There is this, but right now the bishop hangs. But he would be able to take here. I can take back, so it would be a pawn. So he does take first, so we hit, so he'll go f4, which he's done. So we can try and do something like this, but I think I should castle first. It makes it an interesting game, but he's allowed me to actually throw a check in. So I might break his pawn structure. Might end up having to go this side now, might do. So I think here I want to play queen up and see if we encourage bishop back. We can always drop back somewhere, but let's go here just to stop the one move castling, and then knight up to hit the bishop. Maybe we'll come in, maybe we'll develop. It depends obviously what white does. And I guess we can retreat. I mean, the pawns can fly down the board. It could be a terrible position we get into, of course, but this side is not mega safe either. So it's risk and reward, risky for both of us. But if the queens come off, of course, it's much, much easier to play, much less risk. If you push now, I think I just take, maybe either way. But knight up is a simple development move because we hit the bishop. Yes, he's lining up castling. But do we want to take the bishop there? Because it could line up a move like this or this. It could be useful. If you castle, it could give us bishop up. And otherwise, we're threatening to just simply trade the bishop off. I guess you can drop back, but we could still develop the bishop anywhere. Just click anywhere on the board if you want to clear any arrows that you've done. Yeah, the bishop has indeed gone back over, but if I get the bishop up now, you can't castle either way, at least in this position. So that's got to be a decent move then. I mean, you can play this and kick my knight as well. I guess I could go here instead, but it looks like a nuisance move going here just to stop that immediate castling. Maybe rook across. Maybe chuck a pawn up and try and kick the knight and then come in. Rook across might allow an immediate pawn push, but it could start these pawns really stomping down the board. But now, maybe I've got the simple bishop in to hit the rook. Now the rook can go to either square, and we could maybe look at coming in here. Knight in, take, 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 take. Probably fine. What do we do? What do we do? I think I should probably charge forward. But rook across is very logical to try and go for this break at some point, but I'm going to push the pawn and threaten to kick that knight away, just with a view to trying to come in over. but without the knight being able to jump to the centre if I go there. I mean, maybe you can play a3, but I'm looking at a move like this, and then knight in to hit the queen, and takes with a bishop, but without the knight being here. That's what I'm looking at. So I'm going to chuck this pawn forward as well and create the same threat. If you push now, I can just take. It could work for white, this, but this is the danger if you don't manage to get castled. But of course, I could easily blunder if the queen gets in, if my knight wanders off and the position collapses somehow. It could easily happen. But I've still got bishop back potentially just to trade off, but right now it feels like I shouldn't. But then as a longer term concept, I think the rook's in the middle of the board and try and push on and deal with these pushing. Let's get the cursor off the board so there's no accidental slips there. Yeah, the bishop's gone back, so he's looking for that trade. That's a good move, I think. Although, depends how you take here, doesn't it? Because I was looking at knight up, but the bishop simply covers now. What about just pawn up to hit the knight then? That looks strong as well, doesn't it? Take, take. Everything could just trade off here. I don't have a knockout blow. Bishop back threatens a check though. But bishop back, can't you just simply return here? I think you can. I'm looking at bishop back and then up. So if you come here, because I'm not going to be able to stop you castling ultimately, I don't think. Knight in now. Take, take, trade, trade, castles, rook across. Looks very nice. That does look nice as well. But if I just take rook over, I don't like that. So take, take. I might be wrong, but I'm going to play it. I'll pre-move in case he takes here. He doesn't have to take, of course, but I think he'll take something. I've pre-moved in case he takes it. I don't think I can stop him castling, but we do hit the queen of the knight now, so I'm trying to plant the pawn and get the rook onto the d-file before my opponent can get it. So right now we hit the queen of the knight, so I'll pre-move in case he takes. But now if he castles, I've got rook across, the idea to come in and pressure the pawn. It might amount to nothing, of course. He might have some very good counter strikes, but it's something. Oh, he's played queen across looking for the end game. Now that's something I don't think I should do. I'm going to play queen across to stop the castling again. Maybe he can go this side, but I'll just push on if he does. Otherwise, rook up in here. That's what I'm aiming for. So he's gone after my pawn, logical. So do we sack it? I think we should probably sack it. Let's be brave and sack the pawn to try and open it up and activate the rook somewhere. Because he's not castled. I'm trying to get my rooks active just before the white king gets to safety. Queen back you've got, I suppose, but then I can maybe drop all the way back and you still have to move your queen to castle. Yeah, he pushes forward. So what about rook across now? Just sack this rook down. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to sack the pawn and try and come forward and double up. It might actually amount to nothing whatsoever. Or takes, I can maybe just come back and just think of it as a holding move. Then we're threatening the back rank. So we have got the chance to do that. Now if you try and defend, we can always take, bring the queen out and then rook across anywhere. Because we cover. I need to be aggressive here. I need to be quick. I've got to try and keep my opponent a little bit under pressure on the clock if I can do. And then obviously I've got to push one of my pawns to give my king a bailout square. Because if my attack doesn't actually work, I could lose all my pawns and the game is over. That could easily happen as well. Just click my little heater off there. It's not too cold today. But it looks scary, doesn't it? If the rook's trade, I'm threatening rook to c1 check. Maybe just king f2 and you're fine. Maybe. Maybe you're just perfectly fine and you've got the extra pawn. Once your king is safe, you're winning the game. that could easily happen. So he has played across to cover this. So I think I need to spend a move giving my king a square. But do I actually go up 2 or 3? Should we be bold? Let's be bold and threaten to go right the way up. As long as I've got a square, my queen guards my rook, so the queen can't come here right now. It's just not easy to see a way through. Maybe I play pawn up to plant the rook here, but it does risk losing this pawn and a queen coming down the board. But here, takes, rook up. Oh, that allows me in. That's got to be a mistake. That allows my rook straight in to hit the pawns. So check, king up. And I don't see a lot there. The other move is pawn up here. Actually, how do you defend pawn up here as well? It feels like I should be playing forward, threatening to take and check. That's the move I'm favouring. Check, king up. And I think I'm fine. You can't get your queen onto this diagonal for a follow-up check. You can come to one of these, but I simply check and win the game. Or I should win the game. So that's why I'm looking at rook up. And then I've even maybe got queen behind at some point. But pawn up here is the other candidate move. We're threatening to simply take. If you try and defend it, maybe you can just simply defend with a king. Check, you can't take back. Ah, so that's a problem. So here you can't defend with a king, we can just take anywhere. And if you defend with a queen, we've just simply got the rook check. And if you step up anywhere, we take the rook. So that's a really tempting move as well, isn't it? Let's do it. Am I wasting a move? Let's do it. Let's just play this move. The problem is it might open my king up now. It might open the king up to these checks. If I wander forward. So it could be a real problem. It could be a mistake because it was guarding my king. Now it won't be. So it could blunder a repetition further down the line. Yeah, and he's found rook across. So maybe it does. I may have just made that mistake. We may have made that mistake. So now I'm looking at rook up again. Check. And you can now take here. I've made a mistake, haven't I? Why did I do that? Let's play queen back actually, because I can pressure the pawn directly and I can still play it forward. But now you can check and potentially repeat. Yeah, I made a mistake doing that. Why did I do that? No idea, but it's done. I should have trusted my instincts and gone rook c3, I think. But we found it after the game. But we're threatening the b3 pawn right now. The back rank is safe right now. The king is still very open right now. You can maybe try something like this. But king up, maybe we push the pawn. But yeah, that's the problem. Queen here and here could be a never-ending repetition. Could be. But if I can just grab a pawn, maybe a second pawn, then I can quite happily trade the queens, and we should be winning there if we can do that, barring obviously our opponent breaking through. And we're up a minute on the clock though, that could be important as well. Oh, he's taken. Okay, so that allows me to take here. If he goes for some sort of counter threat, I can just check and trade something and I should be fine. I should be fine. So I'm just going to take that quickly. We're going to threaten to check and pin the queen somehow. With a queen across, we can just check, or we can take the pawn with a check. So he doesn't have that in one move. He could sack, then check, and I think I just drop back and I think I'm fine. But again, you've got to still watch out for moves like that. I'm fine right now, but I might not be fine coming forward. Ah, but that's a blockader again. That might allow me to play rook up now. And if he checks here, I can go here. And he doesn't have a check behind. So rook up, I mean, I can just check here. You have to go here to guard. So rook up to hit the queen first, or I could try and grab a pawn. Down and up. But I really want to play rook up, threatening all sorts of nasties. Rook up, check here, and I don't see a good move. Check, takes, check. Is that the repetition? Back. That might be a repetition, yeah. That might be the forced repetition. I think it is, isn't it? So what about queen back then? Let's just drop the queen back. I've still got to try and be up that little bit on the clock if I can. But yeah, this is the problem. Because I pushed that pawn up, there's now this concept. Right now, the white pawn is now stopping it, but you can sack the rook potentially. But again, queen across, I can just check and trade off if I need to. But then it's more difficult. But now I've got my own passed pawn here. Right, the rook's come forward. But now I can start activating my rook. Because now if you check, I can go here, and this check doesn't work. And I've got queen here as well. Actually, that looks a good move. Queen here. Down, I just take, right? What's wrong with that? Let's go here and hit the pawn. Back rank is still covered. It's very tricky. Excuse me. But again, if I take the pawn, which I want, it still creates this repetition threat. So it's not easy, but I'm trying to cut out this second repetition idea. But as soon as I get forward, this threat is here, so I have to take. I could throw a check in first. Does that matter? I'm not sure. Let's just take. But now I think I've got enough. If I trade the queens, because I've got a protected pass pawn here, I think I'm okay to trade the queens. Now that allows a check and a check. So check here. If you come forward. No, I don't like that. Check here. You can't go this way, can you? So let's throw this check in and we can always come back. I know this pawn is loose. It's not as important. The king's safety is the issue right now. It could be the game decider, of course, but the king's safety is the thing right now. But if you come this file, I can pin the queen. If you come here, I can check. And you can't go here. But you can't step that way, it just loses on the spot. Yeah, that loses on the spot, doesn't it? So that should be good enough to settle a game. It'd be quite interesting to see what the engine eval of this is and see what mistakes we might have made. Pushing the pawn here was probably a mistake, but we'll just find out shortly. Now we just have to convert it without messing up, so I think queen up check is the simplest move here. Hit the pawn and still avoid mouse flips, of course, but my opponent's nearly out of time now. So we'll just take, we can check here. Been a good effort that by my opponent. And again, you've got to take into account the big rating gap. But let's pause and see what it was in engine speak. So it was this game. I don't know. I clicked on the wrong account there, didn't I? It's this game. So 37 moves. It felt like we played more there. So they're the move times. Let's request the analysis. Was it a mistake pushing that H pawn instead of the rook forward? I have a feeling it probably was, but let's see. I don't think these figures are going to be too impressive this game, but we'll just find out. Yeah, we're actually much better a few times here, aren't we? And then we've brought it back to only +1. Oh, we've gone wrong quite a lot. We have gone wrong quite a lot, so... Ooh, it's very... I mean, we've been level or better the whole entire game, so that's good. But we have gone wrong quite a bit. So it's 86% versus 81%, CPL 41 and 64. So we'll just quickly flick through and we'll try and find out where the main points are. So this is all pretty standard. I'll just try to unwind. Now you should have taken here. Here you should have dropped back. You can see by the helpful arrows. And now we've got castled. Now we can jump on and we just build an advantage up to this point, and then we've gone wrong. We should have taken the bishop. instead of knighting, it was actually correct to take the bishop. Okay, so this was the line. The rook would take, then b4, knight back, then the knight in, queen across, then take, rook across. But obviously, if you don't see the whole entire line, you often don't play the moves. But that's what we should have played there. So knight e4 was then a blunder. And we're actually back to level here. Then a few moves later, this is where we start to gain an advantage. And we're better now for the rest of the game, but we've still gone up and down a bit. So this was fine. And then it ends up coming actually back over. Yeah, so h4 was a mistake, was it? Actually, h5 has not been flagged as a mistake. h4 has been. Yeah. And it was rook c3 that I should have played. My instincts, should have trusted my instincts. That was the move I was looking at. And of course, by pushing the pawn, it allows this potential repetition when my king goes here. Trust your instincts a bit more. That was the move I was looking at, that I was talking about. We hit the pawn, but we pressure this pawn as well. And it's very difficult to defend everything. So I'm still better, but I should have played it that way. Now here, I should have just played a nice calm king up instead of dropping the queen back, with a view to presumably to activating the rook like we said. And now this is where it comes back to the closest it was. So that was actually a blunder, and it's only 1.2. We should have just started running our pawn. It makes common sense, doesn't it, now, because you're threatening rook up the following move. Check, here we go up, and there's no repetition threat because of the white pawn. But now it's just a few moves later and suddenly the game is over. Obviously, opponent getting very low on time by that point, but it was a good game at our level, so very good.